I'm live, y'all. It's Ask Constance live. It's Tuesday at 12 o'clock. Actually, it's 12:03. I'm a little late. And I am live. I'm going to answer all your questions all about credit. So I have a good amount of questions this week. Last couple of weeks, we've had a really good time. We've had some really great questions. I'd like for you guys to share with your network because, again, this is all about each one teach one. We want to help as many people as possible. Okay, so you guys are joining me now. Don't forget, if you have any questions, put them right up there and we'll answer all your questions. I have several questions from last week that were left over from folks who did not have an opportunity, or I didn't have an opportunity to answer last week. But again, this is a dialogue and not a monologue. So I'm here to answer your questions. That's why I'm live, so that we could have a true dialogue and we could be Q&A, question and answer. So if you have any questions on credit, and it doesn't even have to be, it could be something that we've covered last week too, or the week before. We've been doing this now for I think 4 or 5 weeks straight. But you are more than welcome to ask any questions. Again, share with your network, because we want everyone to get this information. We want everyone to be well informed. And guys, in this day and time where obviously, you see there's a lot going on with the political climate. And as you can see with even yesterday, money talks at the end of the day. And it's really important that we get in position, that everyone gets in position to where they're so financially secure that we don't have to worry about other people. We don't have to worry about what somebody does to us, because we are in a position to call our own shots. So that's the reason why I do this. I'm all about building and educating and just empowering folks to get the information so that they can get in position to build wealth. That's it. And I'm representing Catalyst Real Estate, as always. Always got my Catalyst Real Estate shirt on. So anyway, I wanted to start off with the questions. Someone asked, is it good when creditors increase your credit limit? So is it a good thing when a creditor increases your credit limit? Sure, it's good. If you have a credit card and say the creditor increases your credit limit, what does that do? That decreases your utilization. Okay, so utilization is 30% of your credit pie. So we have a credit pie. 35% of your credit pie is your payment history. 30% is your revolving utilization. Your revolving debt is what? Your credit card debt. So if 30% of that is your utilization, when a credit card company increases your limit, that means it should decrease your utilization and therefore increase your credit score. So when a credit card company, so oftentimes we'll tell people to, if they're trying to increase their score quickly and maybe they don't have a whole lot of money to do so by paying down their credit cards, we ask them to do a credit limit increase, and that will give them immediate boost in their credit score. So yeah, a credit card increases, or a limit increase, is actually really good for your credit score. Just don't go and run it up. Don't max it out. Use it. Don't abuse it. And that's my thing. I just want to make sure that you are being fiscally responsible when you're utilizing your credit cards, because that's the quickest way you can go up and the quickest way you can go down. You guys understand the importance of credit cards and what it can do for your credit score. And I'm going to say that every single week. I want you guys to know credit cards is the holy grail of your credit. That's the thing that's going to stimulate your credit score the quickest. Okay. All right. Hi, Constance. I bought my first home from you back in 2005. I couldn't print this time. I didn't have enough time to print. So I got another laptop. Hi, Constance. I bought my first house from you back in 2005, and about a year ago, I bought a second house. How long do I have to wait to be able to purchase another house? I'm trying to leave a house for each of one of my kids. And that is probably the best thing that you can do, is leaving an inheritance or something for your children. The Bible talks about leaving an inheritance for your children. And one of the worst things that you can do in life is to die and leave your children in debt with nothing. So real estate is probably one of the best ways that you can build wealth. And if you've ever heard, or if you've ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is by Robert Kiyosaki, that's how he built his wealth. He has a massive amount of wealth. And what he's done is he basically he bought his first house, and he took the equity out. And last week we talked about leverage. What is leverage? Leverage is using credit, other people's money, in order to invest. Okay, so in order to have leverage, you need to have good credit. And so one of the things that you can do you don't have a whole lot of money, but your credit is decent, is you can start off no money down, purchase a home. You don't have to have any money down. You can have down payment assistance, which is awesome. Get in that home 6 months to 12 months, build some equity. In California, it's really easy to build equity. Take the money out, purchase another one. Get that house, take the money out of there, purchase another one. So it's really important that you get in position, an equitable position, so that you can start using your leverage through your credit to begin leaving a legacy or an inheritance for your children. It's muy importante. So I think that's one of the best ways you can do. And again, like I said, the Bible talks about leaving an inheritance for your children, and we should absolutely be working our buns off to make sure that we leave something for our children. Not like Papa was a Rolling Stone and all he left was a loan. That's trifling. You need to be able to leave something good for your children so that they can have something that can be carried on. And so often are we in positions to where our children don't have anything, and so we have to build from the ground zero. It's funny because my daughter, she's in college, and you know, a lot of the things that I'm doing it for my children. Everything that I do is for my kids so that they can have something. And my daughter was like, I want to start from scratch, and I want to build. I'm like, girl, this is what the wealthy do. This is how their children are able to get in position, because their parents have done something and created something, and they've just taken it and they've gone to the next level. That's what everybody should be thinking about doing for their children, is creating something to where they're able to leave a legacy and give their children a head start like other people. Okay, especially in the African American community, we have nothing that we're leaving to our children, and it's a travesty, really. And so we need to really get in position to where we're leaving things for our children and our children's children and all of that. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox about that, but I don't even think I answered the question. So the question was, how long do I have to wait before I purchase another one? You can purchase another one immediately. I mean, it depends on your equity position, right? So if your first house, you have a little equity, you can pull some cash out. You might want to wait, 6 months on a second house, but there's no waiting limit as long as you have the cash to be able to purchase as an investor. So there's no waiting limit on you purchasing other houses. I would just sit down and talk with the realtor and say, hey, what do I have in here? How much can I pull out? And what could I use to purchase more property? But that's the quickest way. That's the best, and that's the easiest way to build wealth in this country. I don't know if you guys know, but there was an article that came out, and I shared it on my page, and it talked about the wealth gap that was going to be widening. In 2003, it was basically saying that the wealth gap, the wealth in the African American community in 2020 was going to be zero. And there has never been the least amount of wealth in within a race as there has been within the last 50 years. So it means that there's work to be done. So I don't know what you guys are doing to get yourself in position to be able to build wealth, but I'm bringing the information, and that's the reason why I'm here talking about credit, because that's the first step to building wealth. Okay. So next question: how long does a response take if you send a dispute to the credit companies? Very good question. How long does a response take? Generally, they have 30 days. So once you send out a dispute letter, so say you have an erroneous account on your credit report, or say you want to dispute something. There's a few things that I would say try to clean up on your credit report. And this is very important, and I talk about it in my book, Keeping Score. There's a few things that you can clean up that'll increase your score significantly. You can if there are AKAs or aliases on your credit report, get them removed. Aliases. So my husband has my maiden name on his credit report. My maiden name on his credit report. Why? Warren Smith. That ain't him. He ain't never been a Smith. They have Connie Carter for me, Constance Carter, Constance Smith. I had everything removed except for Constance Carter. Okay. Also, what you want to do is you want to remove if you have a bunch of PO boxes, you have a bunch of addresses on there, that could also bring down your credit score. Dispute those. If you have PO boxes on your credit report, dispute those. And if you have your employer stated on your credit report, dispute those and have all of those things removed. Okay, those are things that can be done online. So you can go to annualcreditreport.com. If you go to annualcreditreport.com, you get a free credit report annually, and you can go on there. For that, I would say dispute. You can dispute online. But anything else, like if you're disputing a collection or something like that, I would do that in writing. When you dispute online, what you're doing is you're signing a clause that says basically you agree to, there's an arbitration clause that you agree to, that they don't really have to follow through on their disputes, and there's no accountability on the disputing. So it's very important that when you're disputing collections and things like that, you're doing that in writing. But like disputing addresses, disputing aliases, disputing your job, you can do that online, very easy. Go to annualcreditreport.com, it's free, and remove those things, and you'll see a boost in your credit score, okay? But how long does it take? So basically, when you dispute something on your credit report, they have 30 days. So you send it to the credit bureau and you say, this collection is not mine, or remove this from my credit file, or whatever. They have 30 days to then go to the creditor and say, hey, does this belong to you? Is this a true account? They say yes or no. They have 30 days to respond. If they do not respond in 30 days, by law, the credit bureaus have to remove it, okay? They don't have to do any further investigation. They don't have to validate the debt, but they do have to check and see, okay? Now, if you want to go a step further and validate the debt, and I talk about that in my book, Keeping Score, what you need to know to make your credit score grow, and I also give you the step-by-step on how to validate a collection in my training program as well. But if you validate, you're basically telling the creditors, I need proof that this is my collection. I need you to give me proof, and I need 3 forms of proof. I need you to send me something in writing that I signed and obligated me to this. And there's a few more things that they have to provide. They have to, in writing, provide this to you. And if they don't, they can be fined. You can sue them, and they can be fined for $1,000. So they are very aware of the validation rules and the validation laws that the Fair Credit Reporting Act has established. And that's a step further that you can go. Rather than just sending out dispute letters, you ask these creditors to validate that you actually own this, okay? And 9 times out of 10, they can't, and they have to end up removing it anyway. Because a lot of times when these collection agencies acquire this debt, so they're buying this bulk. They're buying a bunch of collections from these companies for 50 cents on a dollar, and they're not getting proof that you actually own it. So they're just getting them, and they're just going to try to get whatever they can above the amount that they paid for it as a profit. And a lot of times they can't validate the debt, and if they don't, they have to remove it. Also, I want you guys to be vigilant on monitoring your credit, because there are collection agencies, and I put that on my business page, my Constanc Carter Real Estate Broker. And if you don't like my page because I put all kind of information on there. But on there, there's a bunch of collection agencies that are banned from collecting, that are actually trying to collect your money. So go onto my page, Constanc Carter. No, it's called Constance Denise Carter is my page. And I have a list of banned collection agencies. Make sure, so go to Credit Karma, make sure that none of these collectors are actually on your credit report trying to collect, because it is against the law, and you could have that collection removed from your account just based simply on the fact that they're banned from collecting. Okay, another tip. So again, 30 days just for a regular dispute. Does a secured credit card help build your credit? Abso-freaking-lutely. A lot of times people can't get regular credit cards, and that's okay. So if you've been on my lives, I told you that I filed bankruptcy about 10 years ago, and I couldn't pay nobody to give me a credit card 10 years ago after I filed bankruptcy, and so when I filed bankruptcy, I had to reestablish myself. First thing I did is I got myself a secured credit card, and I have it, and I've had it for the last 10 years. And it's okay. The rate's higher, the rate's high. There's fees, there's yearly fees, but it helped me reestablish my credit. So within a year of me filing bankruptcy, I was over 700. And now having those credit cards, it gave me the length. So the people with the 700 credit scores, those are the ones who have the lengthy credit history. Okay? So I've had it forever. And if you've tuned in before, I have this credit card and I said last week I was going to take the strip off and activate it and use it, and I'm going to do it, and I still haven't done it yet. But I have a secured credit card that I hate, but I love it because it gives me that credit history that I need in order to give me that longevity in the credit, which is what we need. Okay. So secure cards are good if you're unable to get a regular credit card. How do you get a secure credit card? Sign up go to creditkarma.com. Credit Karma, basically, it's a free site. And basically what it does is it says, based upon your credit profile, these are companies that are likely going to approve you for a credit card. Okay. And they're already looking at your credit profile. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a 50-50. No, it's probably an 80-20 shot. There's a 20% chance that they don't give you a credit card. But if it doesn't work, you have Capital One also does a secured card. First Premier is really good. They give just about everybody a card. They wouldn't give me a card though, because I had one before I filed bankruptcy, and I had to put it in the bankruptcy. So they were like, yeah, we ain't giving you one. So I don't have a First Premier card, but they're one of the ones that will give you a secured credit card as well. And then the other one that I really hate that I don't use is Applied Bank. $200 limit. I've had a $200 limit for 10 years, and I still keep it. It gives me that length that I need in order to keep my scores good. Okay. Hey sis, I need to know what my accurate FICO score is. How should I go about that? And actually that pertains to the two questions about the FICO scores. So if you didn't know, if you guys go to Credit Karma, how many people use Credit Karma? I use Credit Karma. Okay. How many people know that Credit Karma does not give you an accurate credit score? Hit like if you know. Hit sad face if you don't know. Hit sad face if you don't know. Credit Karma does not give you an accurate credit score. Okay. So a lot of times, the wow and the laughing. Okay, I love it. All right. So, and somebody mad about it? But so oftentimes people come in my office. In fact, we have a client who actually works for Credit Karma, and she was surprised to know that her credit score was not an accurate credit score, and she works at Credit Karma. But people will often come in my office and they'll be like, Constance, I got an 800 credit score and I'm ready to roll. And when I pull their actual FICO score, it is more like 600. So Credit Karma does not give you an actual credit score. It is actually a Vantage credit score and not a FICO credit score, which are two totally different things. Now it's a credit score. We call them FICO scores, but they're actually not FICO scores. They're Vantage scores. Now, what's good about a Vantage scores? Nothing for me when it comes to lending for a house. Mostly all reputable lenders will use a FICO credit score, but Vantage credit scores are often used on Credit Karma. They're often used for your credit card companies. They're often used for car payments, credit card companies, a lot of these credit monitoring platforms. So when I encourage you to use to monitor your credit, I'm not saying to monitor your credit for that score that Credit Karma is giving you, because you're not going to get an accurate score. And I see in these groups a lot, in these really popular groups, and I love these groups because they have really great information, but folks are flashing their Credit Karma score saying, I'm 740, I'm 720, and they're likely not. In fact, Credit Karma sent me a email today. It said, woo, that score. They telling me your credit score is good. And I know my credit score is good, but Credit Karma, they sent me a little email today. It said, woo, that score, click on this. And I'm like, that's all good, but I know that that's not my true credit score. Only way you can find out your true credit score is you can get your FICO score. I think somebody said American Express does it. I don't know for sure if American Express gives you a FICO score. Somebody told me Discover does it. I'm not sure for sure if Discover gives a true FICO score. I know that the only place I know that's reputable, that you can get all three FICO scores, is from myfico.com, myfico.com. And if you really want to know what your real credit score is, go to myfico.com. Now, if you want to monitor through MyFICO, it's the same as monitoring through Credit Karma. You're going to pay MyFICO $29.85 per month. And if you just want your credit scores, all three credit scores from MyFICO, you're going to pay $59.85 for the three credit scores, which is, okay. I mean, it could be a little bit expensive, but if you really, really, really want to know what's going on, go to myfico.com and you'll get your actual credit score. And so I want to make sure that I impart on you. If you don't get anything today, know that Credit Karma is not giving you a real credit score, okay? Use Credit Karma to monitor your credit. Now, that's very important. Monitoring your credit is going to be everything. You need to absolutely monitor your credit because you don't know what's going on. Somebody could have stolen your identity. Somebody could have some stuff in your name. Somebody could have a house in your name. And you sitting up in an apartment, somebody got a house in your name. You know what I mean? Because you're not monitoring your credit. And I want to say, when I often speak to people, I want to say a good portion of everybody, I want to say probably 80% of the room don't monitor their credit. And this drives me crazy because monitoring your credit is absolutely free. Okay, so there doesn't make any sense why you do not know what your credit looks like, what your credit profile looks like. Okay, because you can get that information for absolutely 100% free. All right. So, and then the last question I have on here is, have there been any changes to how student loans affect your debt ratio when refinancing your home? Good question. There has. Actually, I think as of April. So what happened was last year, Fannie Mae said that because Obama came out with these repayment loans on for your student loans. Basically, you don't have to pay the full payment. You could do the reduced payment where you're paying where it's an income-based payment, right? And so Fannie Mae said, okay, that's all good, but if you don't have your full payment, we're going to say, say trains passing by. If you don't have your full payment, we're going to hit you with 1% of that balance. Okay, meaning if say you have $20,000 in student loans, what's 1% of that? That's $200. So we're going to hit you with the $200 payment, not the reduced payment that you got under Obama, which was $50. So you have $50 payment on under Obama, but Fannie Mae says no, we got to hit you with 1% of that balance, which is $200. So that's going to increase your debt to income ratios. So a lot of people got knocked out of being able to finance loans because of when Obama introduced this new repayment program, and then Fannie Mae says no, we're going to hit you with the 1% anyway. Well, as of April of this year, Fannie Mae said, well, you know what, we knocked a whole lot of potential home buyers out of the market by doing it that way. So we're going to use the actual payments that they're repaying on their student loans. So now if your payment is $50, we're gonna say your payment is $50, and we're gonna use that against your debt to income ratio. Except, and here's the ticker, if your student loan is in deferment and we have no way of validating what your payment is, they're gonna still hit you with the 1%. So I just get so sick to my stomach when I see people who just graduate from college and they're teachers and they have these noble professions and they're making $30,000, $40,000 a year and they have $100,000 worth of student loans and they're in deferment. Guess what? We have to hit them with $1,000 a month. Even if they're not paying it, we got to qualify them and take $1,000 away from their income when we're trying to qualify them for a loan. So say they're making $3,000 a month. Now we just took $1,000 off of their qualification because of these damn student loans. It sucks. So I advise people, I got a little trick. What I'll tell my clients is, hey, get back in repayment. Go ahead and get on a reduced payment for a little bit. You know, get that payment, get that reduced payment. Then after you get in this home, go ahead and get back on deferment. That's a little something I do. Try to beat the system any way we can, right? Don't tell Fannie Mae, don't tell nobody. But that's just kind of what I do to try to help my clients, is to say, hey, let's get you on a payment plan, and then when we get you in a home, you can go ahead and get back on deferment. But if you're on deferment, we have to use that 1%, which can really kill you when trying to qualify for a loan. Okay, so that's all the questions I got, and I know that we got some questions in here, so let's see. Let me go and look at our questions again. Remember, this is a monologue and not a dialogue. No, this is a dialogue and not a monologue. So any questions that you have, and I know I have. Finally, I got my business page working where I got questions up there, and I know I have questions here too. So any questions you guys have, please, please, please. In regards to credit cards, how many should you have? Ooh, Tashante, that is a good question. So you should have at least 3. I would say 3, and that's my personal opinion. That is a good a good round amount. If you have more than that, like I have 6, and that's not good. And like I mentioned before, the reason why I have so many is because I points. You know, I got American Airlines gave me 50,000 free points for traveling, and just different things like that. And that's the reason why I got them. And that's not always great for your credit score, because what it does is as you apply for more and as you open more accounts, it reduces your credit age. And when your credit age is not as lengthy, that also reduces your credit score. So just try not to, if you already have an established lengthy amount of credit history on your credit cards, try not to open up any new credit cards if you don't need to, unless like you absolutely have to have that platinum no limit credit card or something like that. But for the most part, just try to keep like 3 good credit cards balance is low, 30% no more than 50. Use them, don't abuse them. Okay. So thank you for that question. Yes, Stephanie, generational wealth, that's what it's all about. And so for those of you who just tuned in, I was talking about creating generational wealth, and somebody asked me, how they should, how long should it take them to purchase another a property because they want to have a property for their other children. And I think that's, Danny, I think you're tuned in. That is absolutely the best thing that you can do for your children is create, give them something, create something for them, leave a legacy for your children, and create an inheritance for your children. That is a biblical principle, but that's also something that we should be doing anyway. And a lot of us were left out of the wealth pool just due to, systematic issues. But now is the time more than ever that you have opportunities that you did not have before, and nobody can hold you back except for you. So get in position, build your credit so that you can start building wealth. That is why I'm here today. All right. Don, do you dispute the addresses even if you live there at some point in time? Yeah, Nicole, I would dispute them. If you don't live there currently, dispute them. Only have the current address that you live in on your credit report. Don't have a bunch of addresses on there. Again, what it does, and I'm almost 100% sure, is it just shows instability all over the place. Got PO box, things like that. One address on your credit report, and that's it. Okay. I'm not sure what credit union will help with that. Not sure what you mean by that, Danny. Should you pay off closed credit card accounts? Chavez, that's a good question. Somebody asked me that question last week too. Should you pay off charge-offs? Is that a question everybody want to know? Hit like. You want to know that? Should you pay off a charge-off? I wouldn't. When a collection gets charged off, it means that it's written off by that debtor, okay, by that creditor. So when they charge off, it means it's a profit and loss. They've either sold it to a collection agency or they've just written it off and there's nothing else, okay? And so when you pay off a collection or when you pay off an old charge off, what happens? It can reduce your score. So say you have an account that's been charged off, but it has not reported on your credit report in 2 years. Accounts that haven't reported on your credit report in 2 years, they're impacting your credit, but not greatly. Okay, so like a collection that's been reporting last month is jacking your credit score up. Even a late payment on your on anything, jacking your credit score up if you were late last month. But if you were late last year, it's not hurting as bad. And if you were late 2 years, it's really a very minimal effect. Same with collections or charge-offs. So if it hasn't reported in the last couple of years, it's hurting your credit, not a whole lot. So what happens is when you pay it off, you're waking up the dead. So now it's a paid charge-off. It's a paid collection, but it's still a collection. It's still a charge-off. It's just paid. And now it's reporting currently, and now it's going to drop your score. So they have 7 years. Collection agencies have 7 years to report on your credit report. Okay, so even if after the 7 years, they can still collect on it if it's within the statute of limitations. Okay, so in my training program, I talk about the statute of limitations and how that works. But check to see if in your state they have the ability to collect or the ability to sue beyond the statute of limitations, because those are two different things. They can only, like in California, they can only come after you after 4 years, but they can report 7 years. So, there's nothing that they can really do. The other thing is, I would never, ever, ever admit to a collection. So if a collection agency calls you, they say, hey, you got this credit card from, 97 or 2000. And you're like, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. No, you never admit to a collection, because now you just obligated yourself to that. And now they're going to start calling you again. And now they're going to start reporting it current. Okay. So if anybody ever calls you and asks you about a collection or anything else, you don't know nothing, you need to investigate. Never admit to anything. Never. Okay. Yes, Nicole said, so should you pay the collection off if the collection agency is willing to delete off your credit report? Absolutely. And that's called a pay for delete. So the only time that I would recommend you paying off a collection Typically with the charge off, it might be too late. It's probably going to be too late because they've already written it off. But I only recommend you paying off a collection if they're going to delete it from your credit report. Okay. So how do you do this? Call the collection agency up and you say, hey, I see this collection on my credit report. I want to pay it, but I'll only pay it if you delete it from my credit report. And if they say they'll try to trick you. They'll say, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and pay it, and then we'll update your credit report, and it'll just say 0, and everything will be good. It's going to increase your credit score. No, they're trying to trick you. It's not going to increase your credit score. Your credit score is going to remain the same. So you make sure that if you're going to pay something, that they're saying that they're going to delete it, not that they're going to pay you change the status as a paid collection, or they're going to make it a settlement. They are all the same, and they all affect your score exactly the same. Okay, so they will try to trick you. Some collection agencies have contracts with their original creditor saying they cannot delete anything, and that's fine. So I've actually had that happen to me before. They were like, hey, I called them up. I said, hey, can you remove this from my credit report? They were like, nope. And I was like, well, you ain't getting no money from me, because if I pay it, it's going to. Now, should we be fiscally responsible? Absolutely. If you want to be fiscally responsible and pay off your debt, you should. However, if you're just doing it to increase your credit score, don't bother, because it's not going to increase your credit score. So I needed to change that and repreface that. Is if you want to be fiscally responsible, go ahead and pay off your collection. But if you're doing it to increase your credit score, don't bother. Okay. What if you want a certain credit card back, but it's been charged off and closed in the last year? Should you try to get it back and pay the balance off? No, they're not going to do it. Once they close your credit card, it's really, really hard. Once they close a credit card, reopening it is almost impossible. And I've seen people with credit cards that 10, 15 years, and I'm like, and then they told me that they closed the credit card, and I'm like, what did you do? And then they went back to try to reopen it, and they were in good standing and everything was great, but they were like, nope, we'll give you another credit card. Now you start that time all over again, and now your score is going to suffer because of it. So a lot of times I have not seen, I'll just say me personally, and this doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I haven't seen a credit card company reopen an account that's been closed after it's been charged off. What happens if the bank charged off a home loan and haven't foreclosed after 5 years? Well, there's a couple of different things I would ask. Did you file bankruptcy within that 5 years? If they haven't foreclosed after 5 years, but they charged it off, that means the house is still yours and the house is still in your name, and you could sell it and possibly get some proceeds from it. So just because they charged it off, it's still yours. You still hold title to it. It's still yours. So I actually have a client and a friend who the bank foreclosed on their property incorrectly, and they still hold the title. There's no loan on the property, so they're still the owners, because the bank did not foreclose properly. So if they charged off on the loan, but they still haven't foreclosed, it means you're still the owner. Now, they can at some point foreclose on the property, but you're still the owner. And if you have a little equity, you want to sell it. You could try to modify the loan. You could try to refinance it possibly, but you're still the owner. Do you get that creditor will delete from your credit report in writing? Absolutely. You have to get it in writing. So when you do a pay for delete, you want to make sure that they give you something in writing. Typically, you want to ask for something in writing up front, but I've had them do it without them providing it up front. I'll say, hey, I need this, and I'll pay right there. And they'll say, look, Constance, this, or, whoever, Mrs. whatever, because I'll act like I'll do it for a client. And they'll say, this call is being recorded. We're going to make sure as soon as you pay, we're going to fax you something, within the next 5 minutes saying that it's been deleted from your credit file. So you could ask for something up front before you pay for it and say, and it could say, based upon our agreement, you're going to pay this by this date, and once you pay it, it's going to be deleted, or you can pay it depending, if you trust the creditor. I've never had a creditor not give me a deletion letter after they deleted it. Now, they're supposed to send it over to the credit bureaus, but they may not. So it's up to you. It's your responsibility to take that letter and send it to the credit bureaus that are reporting it. And all credit bureaus may not be reporting it. Okay, so that's very important for you to understand. When you're reading your credit report, know which credit bureau is actually reporting this collection, and make sure you only send it to that credit bureau. You don't have to send it to all three. Okay, it's a great question. Got some questions up here. A lot of questions. What should my credit score be before I even consider buying a house? That is a great question. We can do a loan with an FHA loan all the way down to a 580 credit score. Okay, so you can get an FHA loan down to a 580 credit score and pay 3.5% down. In the state of California, you're not going to get any down payment assistance with a 580 credit score, but you can get a loan, and you'd have to come in with 3.5% down, and maybe your closing costs. Or you could ask the seller, you can negotiate that in your loan. But 580 credit score will get you in a home. Pretty good, right? It's not hard to do. 710, better if you want a better rate. Absolutely. Tiffany said 710. So the higher, of course, the higher your credit score is, the better your rate's going to be. Especially if you're doing a conventional loan. So it doesn't have to be a 710 credit score, but you could have a minimum of 580 credit score if you want to get a loan. For a conventional loan, you want to kind of be at about a 680 for a 3% down conventional loan. There are conventional loans that are 3% down. You want to be about a 685. At 5%, you can do about 620. So they've made it so easy, so much easier to get loans these days. After the whole crash, everything tightened up. We couldn't pay for a loan. Right now, it's much easier. Guidelines have tightened up so much. So it's so easy for you guys to get in a position to be able to purchase homes these days. It's unbelievably funny. It's unbelievable. What about judgments on your credit report? Judgments on your credit report stay on your credit report for 10 years, okay? As of July 1st, 2010, I don't know if you guys know, but civil judgments and tax liens should no longer be reported on your credit report. Civil judgments and tax liens. So as of July 1st, if you have a civil judgment that's appearing on your credit report, it should no longer be appearing on your credit report. And if it is, you need to dispute it, okay? So that is the law as of July 1st. Civil judgments no longer can be reported. And if you're, like, say if you have like child support, that was some type of judgment, that has to be removed. Now, it's gonna boost up your score. Your score should be boosted now that if you've had these like tax liens and these civil judgments, it should boost up your credit score, but it doesn't mean that they can't find out this stuff. It doesn't mean that they can't find that you have a tax lien or a judgment if they wanted to. So, but it's great news for people who have civil judgments on their credit report. Okay. What is a charge-off? That is a great question. So a charge-off is when a creditor writes off a debt. So you have not paid it. They try to collect. They have not paid it. You have not paid it. So they write it off as a profit and loss. So they get to the tax benefit of you not paying that debt, but they also can sell it to a collection agency if they wanted to, and that collection agency can come after you for the debt. Now remember, when I talked about collection agencies, they're buying a bunch of these debts, and they're just, they probably bought them for 10 cents on the dollar, maybe 20 cents, and they're just trying to get whatever they can above what they paid for them. So if you're going to negotiate any collections on you want to be fiscally responsible and you want to negotiate, start low. Give them something ridiculous, and then have a end goal in mind. So say it's $2,000. You know that realistically you could pay $1,000 on it. I'm gonna start at $50. That's stupid, but I will. I'm just that stupid, and then I will come up in small increments from there. So, and then if I know that at the end of the day I'm gonna go up to $1,000, but that's the art of negotiation. Start slow, and then just kind of work your way up there, but negotiate really, really, really low. Anything that you can, and like I said, they'll take whatever they can above what they paid for it. That they have some type of starting point and stopping point on what they're willing to accept when you're negotiating your collections. Okay. What if the collection was about to fall off next year, but then start a garnishment? It will still fall off as scheduled, or is a new case for 7 more years? Very good question. Yes. If they've started a garnishment and it's been reporting for 7 years, you've had that for close to 7 years, at that 7 year point, they have to stop collecting or stop, excuse me, reporting. They have to stop reporting. Now, can they collect beyond what's being reported on your credit report? Absolutely, if it's within the statute of limitations. Okay. So they may not be able to garnish if it's within the statute of limitations. That's why you need to know what your rights are. And I talk about that in my training, mywealthroadmap.com, and how to figure out what your what the statute of limitations are. So when you're fighting against these credit reporting agencies, collection agencies, you know, like for example, I have my sister. I was mad at her because somebody called her and said, "I'm going to sue you for this collection, this old collection." They had no right to collect. She got scared and she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna pay it." And I was like, first of all, you don't admit, and second of all, you fight. They had no right to collect, but did anyway. So they're going to do whatever they can to collect that money, even whether they are entitled to collecting it or not. Very important that you know what your rights are. Okay. Sorry for telling us business. Okay. Credit Karma only shows 2 of the credit reporting agencies. How can we see all 3 agencies without continuously requesting a report from each? That's a good question, Gwendolyn. Thank you for asking that. So you're absolutely right. Credit Karma only shows Equifax and TransUnion. Okay. Where can you get other free credit reports? Credit Sesame has all 3, I believe. But the best place probably to get all 3 is annualcreditreport.com. That is a free credit report that you can log on. You can get a copy of your credit report once a year. You'll get that once a year. You can do your disputes. Like I was saying, when you dispute, you're disputing your aliases, you're disputing your addresses, you're disputing all that stuff. You can do that on annualcreditreport.com. That's where you get all 3 of your credit reports. Okay? So yeah, Credit Karma only does to myfico.com. That's not free. $29.95 to monitor monthly, $59.85 to get your FICO score, but you'll get all 3 from there. And I think totalcreditcheck.com does it, and they are slick. They say we're going to only charge you $1 for 7 days. The fine print says $1 credit monitoring, and then the small print says for 7 days, and then we're going to charge $29.95 a month. And so be very careful when you go to those credit monitoring platforms that ask for your credit card. Freecreditreport.com is not free, okay? So make sure that you're not putting your credit card information in there. Go to annualcreditreport.com. They're going to give it to you for free. Credit Karma, like she says, it only gives you 2, but it's okay. All right. Curious about school loans. We'll probably have forever, but is it possible to have a credit score between 700 and 800 with 100K in student loan debt? Absolutely. Absolutely. As long as, so student loan debt, they are your installment debt, okay? So they're not as heavily weighed as say a credit card. So as long as you keep your balances low on your credit cards, you keep your utilization low, you keep your age lengthy, so you have your credit for a very long time, and you have a mix, so you have mortgages and you have student loans, and that's fine. Because I've seen on like Credit Karma or somewhere they were talking about, oh, your debt to income ratio is high. You don't know how much money I make. How you know my debt to income ratio is high, right? They don't know how much your debt to income ratio is. So it doesn't matter how much the debt is. The point is your payment history and your utilization and your age. Okay, so those are the factors that are going to determine whether you have a 700 or a 800 credit score, not a $100,000 student loan debt. It doesn't matter. Okay. My mother is 66. She receives Social Security. She has a job as a security guard, and her credit score is in the low 6s. What is the likelihood she could get approved for a home loan? Ooh, I know that's a question that a lot of people probably have, right? You have a person who gets Social Security, they have a job, and their credit score is low. The likelihood that she's going to get a home loan is very high. Actually, Social Security is permanent income. Okay, disability is permanent income. Okay, I mean, if you have disability, if you have permanent disability, that could be utilized as permanent income, not temporary disability. So let me get that straight. So if you off of work for a few months, that's not a permanent paycheck. But if you are on a permanent disability or you get permanent Social Security, absolutely. I had a client a few months ago, permanent disability, getting paid a good amount of money, has some retirement, some permanent disability. Not only are we able to use it, but we're able to gross it up, which means we're able to give them more than what they're getting. So if we're doing a conventional loan, so say they're getting $1,000 a month of Social Security, we give them an extra 25% or $250. We add that to their income, which will allow them to qualify for more. Okay? So Social Security, permanent disability, those are income sources. Welfare, no, that's temporary. Unemployment, no. But absolutely, the likelihood is that she has a high chance of getting in a home. We can't offer her down payment assistance with a low 600 credit score, but we can get her into something, and she's going to have to come up with 3.5% for her own down payment. Okay? Great question. What if a company has charged off on your debt and has not sold your account? Can you notify that agency to delete the account? When the agency charge off, do they get paid by the government? So yeah, Gwendolyn, when they charge it off, it's a tax write-off for them. So yeah, so I don't know, how, I'm not a CPA, so I can't tell you like how that works, in terms of, them getting paid by the government, but I know it is a tax write-off. But what if a company has a charge off on your debt and have not sold, and you notify the agency? Yes, you can notify them to delete it. Will they delete it? Maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, you could always ask. It doesn't hurt to ask, but most certainly you could ask them to delete it and see if they'll do it. What may end up happening, and one of the things that I talk about in my bookkeeping score is the spray and pray method. Okay, so that's when. So let me just say, when you go to a lot of, not all, but a lot of credit repair companies, first thing they do, and the only thing they'll do, is dispute. They'll send dispute letters, right? If you signed up with any of these credit repair companies, they dispute. They'll send you a letter in the mail. They'll tell you to sign this letter. It's a dispute letter. That's all they're doing, is they're trying to dispute everything on your credit report. You could do that yourself. Why do you need to pay a company X amount of dollars every month to send a dispute letter on your behalf? Right? In my bookkeeping score, I have dispute letters on there. You can go to Amazon, it's Amazon bestseller, get your own dispute letters, dispute them yourself. One of the things you don't want to do when disputing, though, is you don't want to wake up the dead. So you might be disputing the wrong stuff. And that's why it's important to know what you're disputing, because they're disputing everything. They're throwing stuff to the wall and hoping that it sticks. And so what ends up happening a lot of times is your score ends up dropping because something that ain't reported in 3 or 4 years, they disputed it, and the company's like, oh, no, that's theirs. Oh, yeah. Oh, they're still alive? Oh, cool. We're going to try to collect. And now they're going to report it, and now it's going to drop your score. So you have to be mindful, and that's what I talk about in my training program also, in how you dispute things. It's not, you just don't dispute just to be disputing. Don't be like Rambo out there just disputing everything. Make sure that you know what it is that you're disputing when you do dispute. Okay? Thank you so much. You've been very helpful because I'm not aware of my rights and curious to know where to find the information. It is on my, I have it in my wealthroadmap.com. I have an online training, wealth. I have an abundance of information on there, and you could do the course. You could do like from beginning to end, and it'll give you the steps, and it's a build up, and you'll know everything. Or you could treat it like a buffet, get what you need. But the point is, you could do it all by yourself. You don't have to pay anybody. And the beautiful thing about doing things yourself is when you know better, you do better, and you have the opportunity to not get into that mess anymore. I know people who filed bankruptcy, and right after bankruptcy, they're doing this. They have the same habits. Like I have people who filed bankruptcy, and I see brief polls on their credit report. It's like, okay, what are you doing? What have you learned? The beautiful thing about my wealth roadmap and Build Credit to Build Wealth is I'm teaching you what you need. I'm giving you the tools you need to stay efficient and to maintain good credit health so that you can get to the point where you start investing in real estate and investing in things that are going to appreciate so that you can leave something for your family. That's what it's all about, baby. All right, what if I dispute you? I love you, Constance. I love you too, Gwendolyn. Okay, hold on. What does your credit score have to, wait, let me go down. What does your credit score have to be to qualify for down payment assistance? So hopefully you're in California. If you're not, so in California, and mostly everywhere, I believe, I'm not sure, you have to have a minimum of a 640 credit score for down payment assistance, a 640 credit score, okay? I would check with your local entities if you're not in California, but a 640 credit score. If a person receives Social Security of $850 per month and have a credit score of $650, can they apply for a home loan and the city? Yep. So if you got 850, if you're getting 850, so we're going to gross that up. 15% if it's FHA, 25% if it's conventional, and then you get the down payment assistance. You certainly can. Only thing is, at 850 with an 850 a month in Social Security, how much of a home are you really going to be able to afford? House prices are going up, especially here in California. So think about it, like $150,000 mortgage is probably going to be about $1,000 a month. Can you afford that? You know, what can you afford with at $850 a month, or even $1,000 a month? So yeah, you can absolutely get approved for a loan, but it's what are you going to be able to afford with an 850? Okay. What if I dispute two accounts by one company and they remove one, but the other they say is a valid debt? Can I redispute? Also, you said earlier that we should ask for validation. Okay. Can I redispute? Also, you said earlier that we should ask for validation of the debt. What are the ways to validate the debt? And if they can't validate, how I request this removed? Okay. Validation. Pick up my bookkeeping score. Okay, I talk about debt validation in there. Also on my wealth roadmap training, it's there too. Build credit to mywealthroadmap.com. I almost forgot. Oh my God. But I talk about debt validation in the training program. I do the step-by-step on exactly what you need to do in order to have them validate and remove the debt. Okay, so in the book, I just talk about it. In the training, I actually show you step-by-step on how to do it. But that's how you could do that. What's the site again? www.mywealthroadmap.com. My Howard, rolling. Roll on, girl. That's a good thing. Super duper thankful that I have the opportunity to empower you to live your best life. Journey, I've heard your journey, and I appreciate you even saying that, because I already, just me sitting on the front row and seeing where you're ready to go, it makes my heart full. And that's the book. I wrote the books. I'm sneaking in and work. I had to get mine. Okay. Do you know if Social Security attached their money to consider the new home as an asset? I don't know anything about that. I don't know, Gwendolyn, about if Social Security would attach their money to consider the new home an asset. I don't know. Thank you, Ishvi. mywealthroadmap.com. That's exactly it. I'm on Amazon, about to order. Hey, awesome. Oh shoot, I got some more on here. Which credit bureau do lenders look at for your FICO score? Okay, Chavez. That's a good question. Oh, hold on. Okay, make sure I get this one too. They're looking at all three. So they take the middle of the three, okay? So so we have Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. All three are FICO scores. Say you have a 680, 580, 620, okay? They're going to use the 620. They're going to use a 620 credit score to qualify you. Then on top of that, say you're married. Your credit score is in the 700s. Their credit score is in the 600s. Guess whose credit we have to use in order to qualify you? The person with the lowest of the two credit scores. So you could have a 700 credit score. You could be good all you want to, but we got to use your spouse's who's in the 600s. So if you're working on your credit, the best thing that you can do is make sure that your spouse is working on their credit too, or you're working on your spouse's as well. Because if you're both going on the loan, then it's important that you're both of you guys have the same or similar credit. I see that a lot too. One person will work on theirs. They be like, I'm ready. And they be like, I don't know about you, but we about to do this. And then we got to qualify them based upon the lower of the two credit scores. Okay. So that's important. The other thing is, I want to just tell you about that. One of the things that I tell all my clients, and this is very important too, if you don't have to go on the loan with your spouse, don't. Okay. So this is the way that you can start building. And this is one of the things that I do. I buy all properties. I'll start buying properties in one spouse's name. And I advise this to my clients, and I do this myself. And then when I'm trying to start my investment stuff, when I'm buying my other properties, I don't want to say investment stuff, when I'm buying other properties, I'll buy it in the other spouse's name. Okay. So this way you could take advantage of first-time home buyer opportunities. You could take advantage of other other non-investor loans that have less down payment. And then you guys could spread, and you guys could get more separately if you can afford it. Okay. So if you can afford to buy on your own, even though you're married, and for California, if you're in California, it's a community property state. So what's yours is his anyway. So don't try to be like, this is my house. I say what goes. No, this is our house. And if we got divorced, the judge is going to split it right down the middle. So don't even try to act like, they're not entitled to it. But I would buy one thing in the spouse's name, and then I would start buying other properties in this person's name. And there's a method to it. Okay. Are they going to start doing stated income loans again? They actually do stated income loans again. They are not your typical Fannie Mae loans. So as far as like your Fannie Mae loans, they're never going to do stated income loans again, but they do stated. They have bank statement loans. A lot of these private lenders have stated income loans. Rates are going to be higher. Down payment's going to be, I've seen as low as 10%, but on average about 20-25% on stated income loans. So what happened is stated income loans were loans where they didn't verify your income, and it was good for people like me who are self-employed, but it's not good for people who are employed. And what happened is all the employed people started saying that they start stating their income and started inflating their income, and they got into these houses they can't afford, and then the economy fell, and so those are all gone. But they were all gone, but they do have them again. These private lenders do stated income loans. And so if you need a stated income loan, if you're like an investor or something like that, and you have a little bit of money to put down, absolutely. Sometimes when I'm flipping houses, I'll use a private money lender, and it's all stated. All they need is my credit. And you actually, when you're doing like flip or private money loans, your credit don't need to be that good. They just want you to show them the money. They don't even care about your credit. They want to see the money and the property, and if the property looks like it's going to make some money for you all, then they're going to give you the money. Okay, so let's see. Are they going to do stated? Okay, which credit bureau? Okay, I said. And then to get funding to develop land, do you have to have approved plans? Ooh, that's a question. Yes. So if you're just buying a land, you can just get a you're talking about developing, that's a whole different type of financing. So yes, you do if you're developing. But if you just want to buy a plot of land, then no, you have it's pulled or anything like that. Okay. The benefits for you is that it reduces your utilization, and that'll go for. Okay. So if they're increasing your utilization, if they're increasing your limit, that reduces. A charge back not paying at all. A charge and a collection, I think a charge off is going to on your yes, the charge. I just want to make sure that I got that correct. Talking about that's not. It's just as bad as not paying the off. It's a charge off. If you're talking about a charge back, like a check, if you talk about charge off, yes, an actual collection. So I hope. When filing a Chapter 13, are you financially strapped for years, or is it best to just file a 7 in order to rebuild right away? Oh, good question. I favor a Chapter 7. You know why? And this is what a good bankruptcy attorney will tell you. So some people will do a 13 to be fiscally responsible. I love that, you guys. Be fiscally responsible. Pay your debt. That's good. I say, get rid of that debt and get on with your life. A lot of times we do a 13-year repayment for 3, 5, 7 years. 3, 5, 7 years. And then after that discharges, it's going to take another 2 years before you can get anything. As opposed to you doing a 7, you getting rid of that debt right away. In 3 months, it's charged off. In 2 years, you're ready to go. There's no question for me. I'm gonna do a 7, and I'm gonna reestablish myself like that. I'm not gonna prolong the debt. It makes no sense for me. Okay, so I would do a Chapter 7 over 13 all day, every day. Is it better to build or buy already built? Is it better to build or buy already built? That's a personal preference. So you have to do some things when you're building, as opposed to when you're buying resale. Okay, so when you're building, the good thing is you got a brand new house. Ain't nobody sat on them toilets. Well, maybe the workers have, but you know, nobody has really lived in that home, which is a great thing. But you also have to consider upgrades. Okay, so a lot of times when you go to the builder, you're gonna have just that base, and they're gonna show you these beautiful models, and you're like, oh my God, yes, this is the house of my dreams. But then if you ain't got no money for them upgrades, you're gonna go in there and everything's white, everything's basic. They're gonna give you the lowest pad carpet. Like if you buy a KB home, they nickel and dime you for everything. Oh, you want a door? Okay, that's another $50. Oh, you want cabinets in the laundry room? Okay, that's another $2,000. I mean, it's crazy. So you have to consider the upgrades when you're building. You also have to consider like the landscaping. A lot of times, backyard landscaping doesn't come in a new home, in a brand new home. Sprinklers, things like that. You have to consider that. Also consider the going to be in some areas what's called mellow in a used home or resale home. You pretty much kind of know what you things that affect the property, but you don't have to pay for the up. Kind of go in there knowing what you're going to get. If it's landscape, you know, you're good. A lot of things that, like when I bought my brand new home, I had $150,000 in upgrades. You know, I like did everything. But they're going to also charge you up the yin yang for those upgrades. Like my plantation shutters, you wouldn't believe how much I paid for them things. They inflated those bad boys. I paid $15,000 for my plantation shutters. That mess probably cost $5,000 for the whole house. But because I bought it and I financed it and I put them in the upgrades, I paid all this extra money. So they're going to also inflate on some of the things when you buy a brand new house. So again, it's a personal preference. You know, what do you want to do? Do you want to be in a brand new house where nobody's lived in before? Or do you want to be in something that's more established? I've done both. For me, I prefer like a more lived-in neighborhood. So the last house I bought was in an area that was really well established, a lot of trees and stuff like that. And so that's what I love. But it all depends on you. It's all what your personal preference is. Okay, but those, you definitely have to consider what you're looking at when you're buying a brand new house, because there are other things to consider. I sell those too. And then I have some more questions up here. A lot of questions up here. I'm glad this is working now, because you know what? Last 2 weeks I've been messing up. So can you explain credit utilization? Credit utilization. Credit utilization is the amount of credit that you use. That's it. So if you have a revolving or a credit card, you have a limit, say $1,000 limit, your utilization is how much you use. So if you're using $300, your utilization is 30% of your limit. That's what utilization is, how much credit you're using in your revolving or your credit card accounts. Okay, good question. Going back to student loans, sorry to backtrack, no problem. I couldn't comment from Black CEO stream, so I need to pull out of deferment and make minimum payments. I didn't know student loan deferment could mess you up, how much you qualify. Yes, okay, so let me go back there. I mentioned earlier, if you're just joining us, that when you have a student loan in deferment, we have to hit you for a payment according to Fannie Mae guidelines, and we have to hit you for 1% of the balance. Okay, so if you have a $100,000 student loan payment, we have to hit you for $1,000, and $1,000 goes against your debt to income ratios. Okay, so sometimes what I advise my clients to do is get into reduced payment plan. Okay, so if the payment plan is that $100,000 loan, get into that, get qualified for a loan, and then after you get into the house, you go back into deferment. Okay, so that's what I was saying in terms of your student loan. So make sure that when you know that your student loans, like if you're going to look for a house, you know that if you have student loans that are in deferment, they're going to automatically hit you for that 1% of the balance. Okay, if you're not in any kind of repayment program. Okay, is there a statute of limitation on rotational property purchasing? You just described how often you can purchase as a first-time home buyer, part of the structure of the question. Yes. Okay, so If you want to be a first-time home buyer, you can only be a first-time home buyer if you have not owned a home in the last 3 years. Okay, so only if you have not been owned a home within the past 3 years. Now, what I was talking about is my husband buys a house. He's a first-time home buyer. I buy a house. I'm a first-time home buyer. Okay, that's how you become a first-time home buyer. Now, if we don't have houses, we can become first-time home buyers, but if we have houses, we cannot be first-time home buyers. Okay, so if you own a home, you cannot be a first-time home buyer. But if he could be a first-time home buyer, she could be a first-time home buyer. Okay, and we both can take advantage of some of the first-time home buyer programs available. And or if you are a even if you don't use the first-time home buyer loan, if you are going owner occupied. So he goes owner occupied, you go owner occupied, but we'll talk about that later. But no, there's no statute of limitations on that. Wonderful advice. Yeah, thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Can you have you, Carter Financial, considered investing in properties as a private investor to allow people on the border of credit recovery to purchase homes? So that will be considered like a lease to purchase program. And no, I haven't considered that. And so she's asking me, would I or my company be willing to do like purchase property and allow folks who are credit challenged to get in position to purchase that house? I'd just rather help you get into position to build your credit first. And I mentioned last week, Gwendolyn, that when I first started, because somebody asked me, would you prefer doing a lease to purchase? Would you recommend doing a lease to purchase or just flat out buying? I say, when I first started, I did a lot of lease to purchase programs with a lot of my clients, and I just wanted to always get my people in position who didn't have that opportunity to purchase a home right away. So my thing was, I just want to help people. I want to help people. What are some programs out there that can help people? At the time, I didn't really know a whole lot about credit. So I got into these lease to purchase programs. Maybe 50% of them converted to the homeowner and 50% of them didn't. Okay, and so it wasn't a bad thing. So the ones who did, great, they got the equity, they got all that stuff, that's good. What I'd rather you do now, since I know about credit, is and how easy it is to build credit. Is not a hard thing at all to do. I'd rather get you in position and help you with your credit rather than get you in a house and then work on the credit. Let's get your credit together. Let's get these habits together. Let's get your budget together, and then you have that longevity. So I'd rather do that, help you get your credit together and help you get into a home to where you start building wealth, you start building equity right away, rather than you waiting to get in position. Okay. Yeah, she said, I know you're right, KB. In Richmond, they charge for everything. Yes, they do, honey. They charge for everything, and they will nickel and dime you. I've been there, had clients that did it. What FICO store should we pay attention to? Experian.com shows FICO 8. I know there's FICO 527 and maybe others. Is FICO 8 more important or common? FICO 8 is the latest FICO scoring model, and I don't think it's been adopted across the board yet. Okay, so I think I think credit reporting agencies for like Fannie Mae are still using FICO 5, I believe. FICO 5, or I believe, but FICO 8 is good. So basically, FICO comes out with a new scoring model every so often, and they were saying which one should we pay attention to. I believe FICO 5 is the one that most credit reporting agencies are using. Just so you know, and I'm glad you brought that up. So here's the thing about FICO scoring. Here's the thing. In 2015, 33 attorney generals sued the credit reporting agencies because 1 in 5 people had errors on their credit report. Okay, and so in 2015, a couple of things that they had to do. They had to get all of their systems upgraded, up to date. They had to make sure. So part of that was how they're reporting these judgments. Part of that was how they're reporting. Like before, they were able to put library card collections on your credit report. Your kid didn't turn in their library book. You got a collection on your credit report and you didn't even know. Yeah. Well, now they can no longer do that. Medical bills. So in 2015, when the 33 attorney generals sued the credit bureaus, they had to do some revamping. It's taking a long time. So 2017, we're starting to see some changes, but it's a process. So like the FICO scoring model, FICO 8 that you're talking about right now, a lot of them haven't adopted it because it's a process. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of changes coming down the pipe from that big settlement that happened in 2015. You're starting to see some now. Saw it in July 1st with the tax liens and the civil judgments. You saw it in September 15th with the medical collections. So you're going to see some improvement, definite improvements on your credit report because of the big lawsuit. How often do you do live educational videos like that? You've helped so much, many things. I do this every Tuesday at 12. All right, every Tuesday at 12, tune in. But more importantly, not more importantly, but I do this and I have a training. I have an online training program, mywealthroadmap.com. So this is just a drop in the bucket because I go deep. I have a lot of information. I actually have a workbook that's also available that it'll give you homework assignments. You can purchase that. I'll put the link up to the workbook after this if you want to purchase that. I also have a book called Keeping Score, What You Need to Know to Make Your Credit Score Grow. That is an Amazon bestseller. So, guys, if I put all the information out there, but this information is for you. I can't be everywhere all at once, but I've created all of these trainings so that you guys could have access to everything. Okay, so if there's a question that I haven't answered, or if there's a question that you have, put it in the comment section. I'll make sure, like I did today, answer those questions first, and then we'll do a Q&A. It's better to pay a debt partially agreed upon. Is it better to pay a debt partially agreed amount or not to pay it at all, as you both are still reported? Is it better to pay the entire amount versus a partial? No. So if you want to make a payment, very unique, McCoy, if you want to make a payment and you want to settle that debt, you want to just settle it, negotiate it. Don't make a full payment, because a partial payment is going to weigh exactly the same as a full payment. Okay? So a partial payment is going to affect your score exactly the same. So you might, these things keep coming off and on. Is it better to bill? Okay, I already did that, and I think that's it. Okay, I think that's it. All right, so if there's no more questions, that was a mouthful, you guys. This was really, 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 really good. I'm so happy that you guys all stayed on with me for an hour and 12 minutes. Rewind the information, send it to your networks, give this to as many people as possible, because again, my goal is to help everybody to get into position to where they can start building wealth, and credit is going to be the first step to getting in position. Muy importante. Help everybody. Help, I'll say this, I said this, and I'll say this again. There's enough out there for us all to have abundance in life. It doesn't have to be the rich versus the poor, the haves versus the have-nots. Okay, we can all live an abundant life, but you have to know how to be able to manage that and get your credit house in order. And so that's the reason why I do this every Tuesday, and this is the reason why I've built the training programs around this, just to educate people. I just want to educate my folks. All right, so share this with as many people as you can. Give everybody the information, let them know about my books and my training and all that stuff. But more importantly, I want everybody to get in a position so they can start being financially stable and financially secure, and you can have something to leave for your babies, because that's the biggest thing. That's the most important thing it is for me, is to have something for my babies. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been a great session. Again, any other questions, please put them in the box, and I'll answer them next week. Peace and God bless you.